this marvelous team. Of course, I go by the name of Dante Dash Smith. And guys, tonight's episode, we talking about entitlement. Entitlement comes in all shapes and forms. We're going to dissect and discuss those various forms and how they affect those that surround us, or those that surround the circle, or those that surround the person that's feeling entitled. So tonight's episode is Entitlement 101. It actually was inspired in a lot. It actually inspired itself throughout this week, you know. So within a lot of my conversations, excuse me, guys. First of all, before we get into all that, let's get into the pleasantries, you know, because obviously, not up to par yet. So, guys, this weekend, Black Panther 2 came out. Great movie. Great fucking movie. Go see it. Bring out your kids to see it. You know, it's definitely worth the watch. I suggest go seeing it in 3D. Makes the experience a lot better. And I say this as a person who's seen it in 3D and regular form. Yes, that's right. I went to go see both films. I went to go see the film twice, I should say. So, great film. Love how they dedicated different scenes, different moments, songs, videography, a lot to Chadwick Bosworth. You know, it was beautifully done. I'm just gonna send a few invitations out. Jeide, I see you. So definitely go see it. Go see it. It's good. It's really good. It's definitely emotional. So if you do plan on seeing it, bring yourself a box of tissues. You will need it. Regardless of how masculine you are, how thick-skinned you are, there's scenes up in this thing that if you just live life, they're going to affect you. They're going to touch you. It's not your typical superhero movie, so it makes it good. But it's also something the kids can get into, which makes it perfect for, a night out. So definitely tune in, go see that, guys. It's worth it. Also, got to pay the bills. T-shirt Mercenary, official sponsor for PVM. Guys, make sure you order your hoodie, your T-shirt. Fall season has arrived. It's starting to get a little cold outside. Make sure you in your proper attire, your PVM wear. Let's do this fall. Let's do this winter correctly. Get your gear, stay laced up, and let's do it properly. Also, tap in with King for all your artwork decor. My man got his paintings up in buildings, up in establishments. Make sure you get your painting. Upgrade the home decor in your house. The winter season is here, like I said. What better gift than surprise your loved ones with than a painting? Nothing says I love you more than, something beautiful hanging on the walls. Guys, tap in with me. We'll fly him out. We got little things going on. Ooh, for real? Okay. So, we're experiencing slight technical difficulties. I don't know if that's coming from my ear, if that's coming from my phone, or if that's coming from Instagram, But Jeide will be with us when he can. He just tapped in, he just sent a message letting me know that he just trying to get on. We just working through the kinks and valleys. So whatever is throwing us off at this point, so hopefully it's just an Instagram era, and it's not a T-Mobile era. Oh, you know what, Jeide? Did you try the new download? Because I do know my phone had a new download this morning. Okay, maybe you don't need it. Send your invitation if it go through. Fingers crossed, guys. Instagram be with the BS at times. I don't know why. They just be hating for black people to prosper on the low. What's up, King?
What's going on with you, bro? What's going on?
Nothing much. Just trying to live each day better than the last.
That's what it
You know.
is. I'm trying to make sure that they keep me in this room,
Okay.
bro. You know what
I
I'm
definitely
saying?
think that. I definitely
Yes,
think
sir.
that. I'm digging on that
Man.
painting in the background,
Yeah,
Any
I'm
skirt
working on a
behind it?
commission piece. Yeah, this an old piece, this one, but this little one, I'm working on a commission piece right now. So, man.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Yes,
can you hear
sir.
me audio wise? Like, am I coming in clear or am I okay?
Yeah, you good. You good.
Okay. You
Yes,
know, 'cause I
sir.
forgot that I ain't peep until you just put them on. I was just like, damn, I forgot to grab my headphones. You know,
Hmm. Can y'all hear me? Am I echoing?
no, you sound good to me. You know, but
All right,
guys,
cool.
let us know if we sound if either one of us is giving off an echo. You know, want to make
Mhm.
this experience as enjoyable for y'all as it is for us too. You know,
Exactly, exactly.
but how your
Yes,
week been
sir.
unfolding? You know, like what's been going on?
Work, bro. More of it. If it ain't on work at the Home Depot, you know what I mean? It's daddy duties. If it ain't daddy duties, you know what I mean? It's home duties. It's home duties with the wife. It's home duties is you know what I'm saying, just holding things down. If it ain't that, there's there's work here, you know what I mean? It's just work. It's just work. If it ain't this or that, it's reading something. And sometimes in between I might have a little time for me to squeeze in a little game or something on my phone and shit like that. But like, bruh, it's work, bruh. It's been work, you know what I mean?
I could dig on that. What you been reading lately?
I just wrapped up. Uh, I just wrapped up Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So I'm gonna revisit that a little bit later. So my next book that I was reading, but I'm gonna have to start off from the beginning again is a book by Sogyal Rinpoche, and it's called The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. So
Mm.
that's my next book that I'm gonna read. I'm still working on Mastery by Robert Greene. Well done, well done. What's going on with you? What's going on, King?
Okay. I could definitely
Mm-hmm.
dig on that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
definitely worth reading. Books worth reading for sure, for sure.
Nah, for sure, for real.
You
But what's
know,
going on, man? How was your week?
you know, along the same lines, you know, definitely a lot of work. Definitely a lot of work. I did, you know, call out from work on Friday, you know, for the first day of Black Panther. Went to go went and seen that with a couple of my favorite little girls. You know, took them out to go see that. That was a good experience. Definitely because I got to see how the movie affected them being so young and little girls. That inspired me to take my nephew today too. So I got to see it twice. You know, so it made the experience a little bit, you know, even better. You know, I was able to like check it out with him too and see like how he was reacting to it. And he reacted the way I thought he was gonna react, you know, like he loved it, but it was definitely the scenes with the music, the scenes where he got to see like men of his complexion, you know, that really jumped out to him that he was like, oh, he was like, Uncle, they look like us. Like
That's
like
what's up, man.
yeah, it made me die because like we was all we out in 309, you know, like a little bit of the Caucasian neighborhood. And when he said it, like the lady next to her, she was Caucasian herself. She started chuckling herself, like she was like, yeah, like, I was like, yeah, you know what? It's good for them to see the representation. Like,
That's what's up. That's what's up.
well, it was good. It was good, you know. Like it kind of actually, you know, like low key, it kind of played into a little bit of today's thing because you know, I'm gonna tell this. I'm gonna tell this story because it kind of leads into today's topic. So my nephew, you know, like while he isn't entitled, you know, like he do have his entitlement moments because of the way like his mom, myself, his grandma, we cater to him. You know, like we
Mm.
like if we can give it to him, we give it to him. You know, like whether that's love, toys, whatever the case may be. So he lives a spoiled life to a certain extent. You know, and with that, you know, like it's certain luxuries he's come to grown accustomed to just in his short life. You know, so when he don't get them, you know, he either acts out or he throws a little tension. Well, he acts out, you know. But what inspired this was like he was just kind of just he kind of been getting into a nice little routine lately, you know, like
Mm.
where I allow him to watch a movie, and I've been kind of like playing it, kind of trying to kind of get him out of side of watching the same stuff. So I'll give him one of his movies, and then I'll give him one of my movies. And like one of my movies would be like one of the movies we grew up on watching. So like I've been sprinkling a little bit of like Scooby Doo. I put a Lantern on him the other day. You know, gave him Shrek. You know, he fuck with Shrek heavy now.
Shrek is
And,
at work, man.
yeah.
Shrek is at work for real. Shout out Shrek. My mom used to love Shrek. It actually got on my nerves after a while because of sometimes how many times that she would want to play it. And this is when we got rid of the cable, so it was just like living off of just movies and whatnot, which was a dope time in and of itself. But sometimes she'd just be like, if I had to go and do something, she'd be like, yo, throw on Shrek or whatnot. I'd be like, Mom, you ain't tired of it? Nah, but
Nah.
it's a great story. It's a great story. It's brilliantly voice acted. Great story. You know, it's a lot about Shrek that's really dope. So shout out.
I mean, yo, no, straight up, shout out, because that movie's coming handy. Like, it's kept him quiet and still for plenty of hours to allow me to do my work in the kitchen, which has been marvelous. Like,
Mm.
but he's grown accustomed to like having these movie nights, or these movie days, like, which I would kind of set up for him, like, as I would do like cooking when I would come home from work. This past week, I ain't do none of that. So like, I'm with him this morning. I wake up and like he was kind of like in a little spoiled bag, and I really wanted to be like, nah, I ain't gonna do nothing. But that at the same time, I was just like, you know what? I know he's feeling entitled, but like this is one of them entitlements he should kind of feel as a kid. Like he should feel entitled to be like, yo, I've been doing my thing in school. This is my reward. And I haven't given him that reward, so I'm just like, you know what? He don't even know this movie, y'all. I'm just gonna take him. So I was just like, yo, young boy, get dressed. We're going to the movies. The fact that we was leaving the house just made him hype to begin with. So he was already on team, like, yay. But then when he got there and he seen the movie we was watching, it just, took him to the top. He was just like, oh, like, I was
That's
just
what's
like, you know
up.
what, this was the right move. Like,
That's what's
but
up.
like, it was one of those examples where I was just like, entitlement can be like good, but like it does play a factor in a lot of things, and like how
Hmm.
people react. So,
Hmm. Definitely.
you know, with that, like, how has entitlement affected you, like within your life experiences and your walks? How has it shaped like either the people around you or yourself personally? Like, actually,
Uh,
how has your entitled moments affected those around you too as well? You know,
uh,
I know
honestly,
that's a loaded question.
no, it's cool. It's cool. Honestly, entitlement is one of those things that could work a two-way street. You know what I'm saying? Von Brown, what's going on with you, King? Uh, Miss Jasper, I saw Miss Jasper up in here. What's going on? Miss Davis, what's going on? How y'all doing? How y'all lovely folk and soul doing? Um, so entitlement is one of those things that work two ways for me. And I guess when I was younger, I used to look at it for the aesthetic. Was like, all right, what I mean, I do this, so what I'm saying, I'm entitled to blah, blah, blah. But then as I grew up, I started to see that, yes, there is a negative connotation to kind of to being entitled, but there's a very much a positive attribution to entitlement as well. Uh, there's one example that comes to mind, but I wanted to apply it to myself first of all, so I can answer your question. As far as myself and entitlement is the reason why, I'm able to move through life in the way that I do. Sometimes you have to remind people of who you are. And when I say that, I mean everything that needs to be understood between people who respect another, like one another, should automatically entail that movement should be as fluid as possible, without parallel, perpendicular, apart, whatever. But sometimes if a person feels, see, this is the other thing about entitlement. Sometimes a person feels entitled to what you have. Sometimes a
Yeah,
person
that's
feels
true.
entitled to, like, if, let's say, for example, you know, um, I'm about to go out and get something to eat with the fellas, you know what I'm saying? And somebody who's a friend of mine is like, oh, I thought we were going to do this. We ain't had no conversation on that. So this person feels entitled to my time. We ain't had no conversation upon that. There's nothing that puts us on a certain level in which, I am I guess betrothed to you in a certain way, like whether it's relationship wise, whether it's business wise, whatever the case may be. There's nothing except for your feeling of wanting to have me where you want to have me. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's necessary for you to be able to tell people, well, listen, here are the criteria. Here's my breakdown. This is why, and I don't even know why the fuck I need to say this, because at this point it's like borderline disrespect. I feel like entitlement is the only way entitlement actually has a place to throw it in somebody's faces if somebody's disrespecting you, whether passively, whether actively, whether subconsciously or consciously. I feel like that's the one time, or one of the one times, that entitlement has a place. For example, I was watching Hell's Kitchen, and Gordon Ramsay gave one of his cooks a mission. It was like a list of emojis, and you had to follow the emojis, emoji for emoji, as far as the recipe. And some of these
Ooh.
kids, yeah, some of these kids was like, oh man, I think he's gonna like it this way. I think he's gonna like it this way. They
No,
went
no,
off
no.
script, right? And there was this one dude that he said he added something, and then Gordon Ramsay was like, "Is that on the list? Read the list." And then he was just trying to explain to Gordon Ramsay. He was like, "Nah, I just thought it was gonna taste better." He said, "Oh, you thought it was gonna taste better? Oh, you thought you thought my recipe, you was gonna make my recipe taste better."
Yeah,
And then
you
he started
disrespected me.
and then he started putting out his credentials. He was like, well, when you come up with 2,000 plus restaurants or 2,000 plus employees, 100 plus global restaurants around here, 17 Michelin stars, da, 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 then you can sit down. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's the perfect example. And, you know what I mean? Of course, not all of us is to that level, but that's a perfect example of what I mean, where it's like entitlement has a place. If somebody feels like somebody seems to be stepping over the line or stepping over your toes, you need to put them in their place. And the only way to do that without putting hands on them is by putting down the criteria, putting down all the things, all your credentials and everything, and be like, hey, look, here's what you should have respected from the gate. But since you're not respecting it, read this motherfucking shit right now. And understand where your position is and where my position is.
That's a fact. No, that's definitely a fact. I can't even argue or debate that whatsoever. Like, and like that's a real time facet when like it definitely shows its layers, you know. And honestly, I wouldn't even put that under a category of being bad. Like I'll put that as a category of being good and necessary, because you do need to lay down the law and like kind of establish your point of view, because it is easy for people to kind of like overstep you or just like sideswipe your credentials into what you establish, you know. Like there's like in certain career paths, like there is a chain of command, like there is a certain level of critique that you have to meet, you know, to garner a certain level of respect, you know, that they even garner that certain level of entitlement, you know, like the entitlement isn't just given to you just because you do such and such. Like it's given to you because I put these blood, sweat, and tears behind it, because I put these hours behind it, because I put was necessary for me to be knowledgeable about what I'm doing, you know, and not just, you know, I'm just pitting it, like, because it's even a certain science to making a dish, you know, and to creating a dish, you know, and even at that level, you know, like it's not even just the ingredients that you're making, like you're not just making a dish, like you're making like, because at that level you're not just making it for one person, you're making that dish for thousands, you know, what can supply the masses, like, and while your one or two ingredient may make that individual dish, you know, stand out or like quote unquote be better in your mind, that additional ingredient might, you know, be hella expensive to
Mm,
add into those dishes, you know, which might make that one dish that might be good, you know, become a lot more expensive than it need to be, you know,
mm,
like, and
mm,
that part, it destroys productivity, you know, which
mm.
in turns it, damn, my light just really went out on the brother. Like,
Hey man, I
and
can
that,
still see you, man. The people can still see you. You know what I
oh,
mean?
okay.
So,
So yeah, and in that turns, you know, it hurts the business. You know, like I can't offer jobs, I can't have the staff, I can't open more businesses if the food not selling, if the people not buying the food. And it don't
mm-hmm,
matter how good it tastes if, you know, if it's hella expensive, you know, because like
mm-hmm,
one thing about it, like people will pay for food, but people not trying to pay for food like that every night. Like, you know, like that's why you got your chain restaurants. That's why you got your Applebee's, and along with your 5-star restaurants. Like you gotta meet people in the middle. Otherwise, like who you playing, you know? And even those 5-star restaurants, they go through their ebbs and flows, you know, like that's why they have those deals, especially like during the restaurant weeks, to get you out there, like they expose themselves to convince people, okay, you know, maybe I should pony up this extra dollar, you know, or whatever the case may be, you know.
yeah, for real, for real. You know what I mean? So, I mean, like you're saying, man, blood, sweat, and tears through the things that you do. You know what I mean? And once again, it's like put it like this, real shit. If you go to a job and you want to get a position under somebody, or if somebody looks at you and like, yo, I like you, let me put you under my wing, or somebody goes and they recruit to be recruited, you know what I'm saying? And you're not at a partner level. You're being recruited for a job. You're being recruited to do a specific thing. You know what I'm saying? You're being recruited, you're being brought into the fold for a specific service. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to acknowledge, it's like one of those, not elephants in the room, but it's one of those writings on the wall. You have to acknowledge your place in things. You know what I mean? Because once it gets to the point of in which a person's entitlement comes out, things usually go downhill afterwards. Because then you got emotionality that comes out. You got people that feel some type of way and all that. And it shouldn't be like that. But nobody really wants somebody to come and pull their dick out and go like, look, you're gonna feel some type of way. But it's also a personality check. Not a personality check, pardon me. Well, it could be, but really an accountability check. It's really personal accountability check on yourself. Before you say or do certain things, you gotta be able to read the room. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be able to go like, you know what? I don't like how my manager is moving with this, but who am I at this level for me to say something? And if I do want to say something, I need to work smart and hard enough to get myself to a level in which my manager doesn't look at me as a worker. My manager now has to respect me because now the credentials add up. Now I put in my blood, sweat, and tears to get up on a level where we see eye to eye. And if I walk right now, you suffer. It's not, you can't replace me. Like something is going to dip if I leave. You know what I mean? That's leverage.
Yeah. That's facts. I can't even listen. I agree with that completely. And see, all right, that kind of leads up to where I got next. So, where do you feel like with entitlement? Do you feel like it's a learned behavior, or is it something that's naturally ingrained into you?
I think it's naturally ingrained to a degree because, well, excuse me, a baby gonna feel entitled to her mommy's breast because that's where her nutrition is coming from. You know what I mean? That's where her source of sustenance is coming from. You know what I mean? Does it mean that it belongs to the baby? Not as much as the mother is willing to give it, but still, that's not even the point. The baby still is like, yo, this is mine. You know what I'm saying? There's I think it's the Terrible Twos, or there's a stage in a toddler's life in which everything is mine, mine, mine. It is?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, so it's like, yo, mine.
I hate
Everything that they
2-year-olds.
see. That's funny. That's funny. But it's like, yo, everything they see is like, it's mine, 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 mine. You know what I mean? So I feel like there is something within us that naturally, intrinsically leads us to want to possess things and to put it out there that this is mine, to let other people acknowledge, like, you know what I'm saying, just like, hey, don't take this from me, or to brand the shit and being like, hey, look what I have. You know what I mean? I do believe that there's something natural, there's something from the womb connected to that.
Yeah, but you don't. So you don't feel like it can also be like a learned behavior as well. Like somebody can learn to become entitled.
I feel like, yeah, everything can be a learned behavior if you're willing to learn it, you know. So entitlement, absolutely. A person who might not be as entitled as the next person can learn to be entitled if they're put in a high pressure situation. You know, let's say somebody who came from one environment where everything was given to them, and then all of a sudden they're in another environment where you might wake up and not have your shoes beneath your bed. You know what I'm saying? Like, the world might flip real quick, and you might have to learn how to, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you know what I mean?
Bounce the scale shift real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that it's a learned activity too. I do believe that it's learned behavior. I think when it comes to it being a learned behavior, you can either become more entitled or less entitled. I don't think that it's something that can apply a new element of entitlement to a person that the seed doesn't already exist within the foundation of their being. You know.
No, I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that. Because I asked that question because in more times than not, like the people I've encountered throughout life that I've seen, dealing with self entitlement that in a negative view, at least how I view a negative view, like where they just kind of like is they're bringing that almost that terrible two behavior into adulthood,
Mm,
and that's how I view a negative form of self entitlement, and the people I've seen that in are people like that's kind of learned that behavior, as they gotten older. They wasn't like when I hear their origin stories of how they grew up, they weren't self titled as children, but it was something as they grew up, that manifests themselves in relationships or more times than not romantic relationships, like where it
mm,
was like either they're well, yeah, and more, yeah, honestly, I might as well just stop skipping around it. And more times than not, they learned it within their romantic relationships, and from that they kept that. That was like one of the few things they kept out the relationship at the end of it was that entitlement, of like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, and like even in their behavior, like I even use example like, and one of the ladies I most recently was dating, she had an entitlement behavior, like that was established from her, her prior man,
mm-hmm.
and because he did a certain level of things, she grew accustomed to that. So for her, it was just like when we started dealing with each other, and I wasn't doing certain things that she grew accustomed to. Her thing was, oh no, you should do this. Like this is expected of you as a man. It was just like, you know what, like no, that's a nice gesture, and like if it moves me, I will do it. But like that isn't like something I'm moved to do naturally. So like when it occurs,
Yeah.
and you kind of had to respect that, and we kind of had like this divide between us that wouldn't even allow us to really connect all but so much because of it, you know.
Mm,
But that was like a level of entitlement where I was just like, you know what, that could like for me that was a negative, but for her that may be a positive because it may be like that might be what helps her decide if this is the person I really want to, move forward with. So
I
like
feel
while
you.
I was viewing it as like a negative thing of like, oh, okay, like, well, like you're a little entitled, I'm not sure if I want to deal with it. That in a sense could have been a positive for me as well, because that's like my like, what? Is this something I really want to navigate? Do I want to have a hurdle like this to overcome in a relationship? So it just, like it just was another way of like showing how like a timing works both ways and not like.
I'm glad that you brought up a relationship. I want to ask you a question in the vein of relationships. So I'm actually glad that you brought that up as an example. Kane Grubin just put down in the comments, going
Mm,
without creates entitlement. And yeah, I agree with that too.
mm,
And I
that's
guess
a
this
fact.
question could connect with that as well. But Dash, with what you just dropped as an example, and with where we are in the conversation right now, do you feel that when it comes to two individuals who have decided to be in a relationship, or two parties who have
Mm-hmm.
decided to be in a relationship, how does entitlement look like in that realm, if it has a place in that realm? How would it look like in your
What in a
eyes?
relationship?
Yes, how would entitlement play itself to build a relationship, if at all it would play itself?
I honestly feel like it is in a relationship, but I don't think it's like in a negative sense, like how most people take entitlement. Like I do feel like once you enter a relationship, you are entitled to your partner, and there's certain facets about your partner life that you are entitled to because you deal with because you deal with that person. And I feel like this way, like even when you just entangle, like even if y'all like as soon as you start fucking a person, you entitled to some information about a person. Like
Mm,
I feel like if we fucking, I deserve to know who else you fucking. Don't
mm,
mean I can tell you you can't fuck them. Just means I'm that information.
Mm-hmm.
that belongs to me as well, because you put me at risk. So I feel like anytime I'm at risk because of your actions, that needs to be translated. And in relationships, like, you're at risk with everything, like, it's nothing more intimate than deciding to build a relationship, whether that's platonic or romantic with anybody, like, and we
Yeah.
do live in this reality, like, where we just kind of build relationships with any and everybody, and not everybody is meant to have a relationship with us, but those that do, like, there is certain layers, and it's certain it's certain things expected out of people, like I'm sure, like, with your lady, like, I wouldn't say expectations, but there is expectations, it's like certain things, like you require that she know dealing with you require a certain level of, I need to do X, Y, and Z in order to deal with this man. Otherwise, he not gonna deal with me. And I'm
Mm.
sure it's X, Y, Z for you. Like, it's like certain things, like, look, if I ain't doing X, Y, Z, my lady not fucking with it,
Mm.
and that's going
Mm.
to create tension with me, and I'm not trying to deal with that, like, so, like, you're mindful of, like, what ticks off your partner, and like what buttons to irritate. It's like learning who your partner is, so you kind of learn, what I can give, what I shouldn't, you understand, what's disrespect in their eyes, as
Yeah.
opposed to your eyes, and y'all the love the ah develop a level of what disrespect is for the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
so one
Mm-hmm.
don't step out the balance, because it is always that level of being just off, sometimes, and you just kind of got to create that clarity of, like, what, like, when you do this, I find it disrespectful, like, even though I know you may not be doing it, it's just like how I view it. Okay, let's work on that. That's an issue. I'm glad you brought it to my attention. Let's talk it out, as opposed to, it becoming a bigger issue and you snapping on me about it. Now I'm trying to figure out where is your ideology, and, like, why is your reasoning behind why you feeling like the way you feel. So, like, entitlement works in a lot. I feel like all that's entitled, like, and I do
Mm-hmm.
feel like when you decide, like, yo, this is my person, I want to, like, romantically, when I want to build with somebody, like, they're entitled to a certain level of things, like, within you. And, like, for me, like, in that relationship, it would be like, like, my whereabouts, like, you'll be entitled to, like, know, like, what I'm about to do for the day, who I'm speaking to, who I'm entertaining throughout the day, and who has access to me, Now, like, do I feel like there's certain things that, should be off guards? Yes. Like, I feel like my phone is one of them, like, I do feel like there's certain luxuries you're entitled, uh, regardless of where you're at in the relationship. And I do feel like your phone is something, like, that's something, like, you and your partner had to discuss, like, now for me, the phone isn't necessarily like you don't have access to it. It's more of a, I don't care if you go through it, just let me know you're going through it,
Mm-hmm.
like, we don't got to set up no time limit. Just, but before you go through it, just let me know. Yo, babe, I'm about to go grab your phone. Like, give me that. Like, because at the end of the day, it's still me. Now, I don't care what you see up in it because you're my mate. But I do still want that level of respect, that level of privacy. Like, to know, like some of my private thoughts can just be my private thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But I
I
do
feel
feel
that.
like it's a lot of things that your mate is entitled to. How do you feel about it? You're the one in the relationship. How do you kind of?
Um, I feel like, you know, I feel like the deeper the commitment, the deeper the mutual commitment, the more entitlement becomes a prevalent element. You
Mhm.
know, because of where me and my lady is, or because of where we are, I should say, there's very little, if anything, that's off the table as far as what she's entitled to and what I'm entitled to regarding each other. You know what I mean? But we have an understanding. We have a pretty deep understanding about where this relationship is going to go. You know what I'm saying? But I did want to ask you a question. You did say something that really spoke to me when you said, I feel like even if you're having sex with somebody, you feel entitled to knowing, who else did you have sex with? And I feel like that's interesting because in this day and age, that information is so sensitive, or it could lead to some real, sensitive backlash. But, you know, sex ed would teach you you know, being sexually active, you know,
Yeah,
you have a responsibility to tell who you know what I'm saying, who you're sexually
yeah.
active with. Hey, these are my partners, or these are the people, you know what I mean, I'm tested. Here's my results. This, you know what I mean, things like this that, you know, sometimes we just
See, my
lose.
my thing with that, Jetty, is like once we having sex, like all that uncomfortable conversations, like I don't care no more. Like, 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 sex is like the most intimate form of being with a person. So if we can fuck, we can have talks. So I'm
Mm,
not trying to hear like this conversation is too hard to have, but fucking me was easy. Like if
mm,
that's the case, then maybe you should have thought before fucking. So like that's
mm,
kind of where I fall in line with that. So, like even when I be hearing people be like, you know what, like the conversation is so hard, it's just like, well, what do you think so little of yourself that you just give your body away? Like, and that
mm.
goes for like not just the ladies, that goes for the men too. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's discernment in that. Like, like not every woman is meant for you to pick your dick into,
that's a
like,
fact. That no, no,
like,
real shit, real
like for
shit. I
real,
stand
like.
by that.
Yeah. And just because she giving you access to it don't mean you should take that access. Like sometimes
Facts.
that access is a sign from the stars above, yo, walk away.
Mm.
Like this is detrimental. Like I done been to some stuff that had me stuck.
Hey
And
man, look, we
you
all
know,
have. Once you dive in those waters,
yeah,
you gonna get wet.
yeah,
You're
right.
gonna get
It,
wet. Like it's no way around it. Some
and,
people, some people fuck around. They get undertow. They throw it out into the ocean. Some people drown, don't come back. Some people they get cuts and they come back like they, you know what I mean, been at the bottom of the ocean and they just barely got away with their life. Some people they just get their toes wet. Either which way, you mess around with them waters, you gonna get wet. It's just to what degree your exposure to that ocean is going to render you when you decide to get back on shore. You know what I mean? But so let me ask you this though. So when it comes to, because you said that I feel entitled that you tell me who you've been dealing with, you don't have to stop having sex with them, but just tell me who you've been dealing with.
yeah.
How do you feel about
That's
how do you feel
manipulation
about
if you're using it that way. Now we talking manipulation if I'm hitting you with the like, oh, cause you're fucking me, you can't fuck them. Like
mm,
now you're giving me, like you get unless you're in a monogamous relationship and it's been established this is a monogamous relationship, that entitlement shouldn't come up. But like in the talking phase that do come up a lot, and that's a real possibility. And I really use that example because I'm in that phase now where like I'm entertaining others, but I'm not taking anything too serious. Like I'm just in the moment with it. Like if we talk, we talk. If we don't, we don't. You know.
mm,
So that information is vital for me. Like as I'm moving around. And while I'm protecting myself and I'm trying to be as safe as I can. Like I can only be as safe as my partners allow me to be. And
mm,
that information becomes not only necessary for my survival, it becomes necessary for their survival. Because like if I contract something, like whether that's from them or from another partner, and I'm trying to get the details of them about how many partners they've been with, that's also to save their lives, like, and it's
mm,
also to be something mindful for, you know, and like when I was younger, I didn't really care too much, but now that I'm older and like, and I can honestly see my nephew growing up in front of my eyes and stuff, it kind of give me real time perspective of like, yo, kids is real, like you can have them by having sex. I can contract the disease. Like if I do contract something, do I want to necessarily miss out on parts of my life that I was gonna spend with my family, my friends, my loved ones, or doing stuff I wanted to do? Like, or do I even want to put myself at risk? So like for me, it's just like, you know what? That's why I said if I can fuck you, I can have a conversation with you. It's like no conversation that's off the books for me. Like,
mm.
but that also like kind of lead into like kind of figuring out who you're dealing with before you're dealing with, because like for me, I'm being more selective on who I'm having sex with. So it's the process of even choosing a woman is taking long because it's just like, well, what do I want to look for in a woman? And then I go through the breakdown procedure of like, if I get this woman pregnant, is this ideally somebody I would want having my kid?
Mm.
what are the qualities of a woman I want in my kid? Then I gotta go through all that. So like the whole stages of even talking to a woman is becoming more is that intrusive, you know. So like for me, like it goes back to my story earlier with the entitlement situation, you know, like in how she had her entitlements of her standards and I had mine, you know. That even helps with that selection process. So it keeps me, you know, saving myself, like where sometimes that entitlement is good, you know, like because I've been used to this or because this is something, you know, like I want to continue experiencing without a person, with a person, you know. Maybe it might be a quality with a person that I experience, you know, and now that's something you necessarily have to have, you know, like, you know, for
Yeah.
ladies, it might be a man that not only is masculine, but he know how to be sweet. He know how to be kind. He know how to be vulnerable in moments, you know, like, and that might be a quality for her, you know, like when she dating. So like if a man
Mm.
don't display that, that might be, okay, you know what, you're nice, not really what I'm looking for, you know, and that's okay, you know, like,
Yeah, I feel that. So what if in the instance of measures of safety, a woman is willing to divulge all the information pertinent to her safety and your safety in the acts of sex, but she's not willing to divulge names. How do you feel about that? Like she's willing to give you results, dates, times, everything about a person except the means by which you'll be able to identify said person.
I would have a lot of questions. First, it'd be why the secrecy, you know, um, because honestly, I don't really care about your relationship ties. I don't like at that point, like it don't matter if it's like somebody close to me or somebody not close to me. If that's your reason for keeping it a secret, you know, like you really just kind of put my life at risk. So like I would have a lot of questions. Personally, I was still pressed for the answer, but I also was sever ties. Like whatever we had, that's done. You know, because if I can't get a clear, straight answer from you, that means like whatever you're telling me isn't necessarily the full truth. You know, like you might be giving me bits and pieces of the truth. It might be 90% of the truth, but it's not the full truth. You know, so now I got to question the amount of partners you have. You know, if you question them about something as simple as the name, because I'm not about to do no whole background check. This is just retail. I mean research. You know, like I'm not about to go be pulling up to these men's house. Yo, let me get your DNA test. Like no, you know, this is kind of really just to give me a check of like to kind of be mindful of how many people you had. Because like I always do this math for every person you mess with, they mess with 3 people. So I do the
Mm,
math by 4. Like all right, if you had 6 people, you know, do the math. Like
I feel that.
so like that's my mindset. So if you're being hesitant with that, like it makes me hesitant. What else you're hesitant about? So that's already gonna put me on guard. So like yeah, ties are separate at that point. I'm getting a full checkout. You know, like what I find out, whether good or negative, I probably won't share the information unless it's really something life detrimental, you know, just because you put me through the harness of being unsure of who you're dealing with. So I probably will put her through it just on my pettiness level, you know, just because like, well, at my core, I do got some pettiness to me, you know, like, and that's okay. But at that point, like you playing with my life, you playing with not only, yeah, you playing with my life, you know, like, and at the end of the day, like, I only got one of these things. It's not like I could run the clock back and be like, you know what, that life wasn't where I expected it to be. Let me get a new one, you know, and,
Mm,
and, and start a new one. Like, so like, yeah, I have a real problem with that. We wouldn't be able to be on no cordial stuff if, like, when I say sever ties, everything. Like, we're not cordial, we're not romantic, we're not nothing because that's 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 the one of the few things I don't play about now. It's the time and my life, you know, like and it's certain and like even family, like but it's like certain things you just can't play with a man, you know, like and like you kind of got to take your own ego out the situation or your own emotions and be like, you know what, like regardless of how I'm feeling about it, this is just what it is. Like, you know,
mm.
like these are the facts. You know, sex can create diseases. Sex can create situations where like you can try your best, both parties, like to be safe and just shit happens. Life happens, like y'all tried your best, but something happened, Now y'all both affected to something that maybe y'all neither one of y'all knew, it was a possibility. Like I might have a disease, you might have a disease that neither one of us were, privy to before now. Now we're in the situation, but because you're in your ego, because you're worried about how you may look, like you don't want to throw names, and that's pitting not only me but yourself and them at risk, like because now we don't know who got it. We don't know who got what, like in the situation. So it's just like, really, how many lives are you gonna play with because of your feelings, because of your emotions, because of your ego? And that's both ways, like that's both ways. Because I know guys that's been bitches about giving up the names to the ladies because, like either they fucked their friend or they didn't wanna, reveal how many people they've been messing with. And it's just like, it's the same thing. Yo, get out your ego, get out your feelings, get out your whatever. This is what it is. Like sometimes the facts are just what the facts are, and there's nothing you can do but follow the facts and just walk down that road. Like,
I dig
and
on
that's
that.
just
I
one
dig
of those
on it.
situations where you just kind of got to. And I say
Respect
that as
that.
somebody, I actually went through a situation like that earlier in my life, like not in time recent, like, but like in my early 20s, I definitely went through a situation like that where like the girl in question, she was just so caught up into worrying about how she looked, and like even when she was telling me the answers, like, cause like I questioned her, and everything I told you I was doing that. Like I was pressing her, like, yo, I need a fucking name, you know. And like she gave me a number. Oh, it's only been 4 people. And I'm just like, all right, well, if it's only been 4 people, give me all 4 names. Like it shouldn't be that hard. Like, and like when we got down to the gritty of it, where she finally started revealing things, because like I went and got checked, and it was the one time I actually had something wrong with me. And I'm like, I came back with results. I was like, all right, I never had nothing. So somebody you've been messing with got something. Like, look, this is just what it is. Like, she got the crying, like I finally got the name, but it took all that just to get out of it, to get it all out of her, what it shouldn't have. The conversation should have been easier. The situation should have been handled more delicately on my end and her end. Like I felt wrong for how I handled the situation, but at the same time, like when you're put in a situation where it's like your life and this trust in someone else's instinct, your natural instincts to survive always steps in, and it's just like, fuck the emotions, fuck the ego, fuck the whatever. Yo, this is what it is. Like, oh, we got a
Yeah.
question.
Oh, I can't see any of the comments.
Oh, okay. It's from Beck. He said, do you watch UFC? This question don't even pertain to the conversation.
Okay.
Beck, we'll get in the following segment. But yeah, like sometimes, facts are just facts, and there's just no way to supersede that. You kinda gotta just step out of it, How
Yeah.
about yourself? How would you handle it?
I'm a bit different. Um, I'm a bit different because I can understand the comfort that names would give me, but I'm kind of like a statistician. So you give me the numbers and I'm cool. I don't really care too much about I don't really care too much about what's outside of myself. Now, we are talking about casual sex.
Mm.
So if we're talking about casual sex, still, I don't think I care much about names. Like, I don't think names
That's
would
why I thought
be
the names
an
didn't really
issue
play
with
too
me.
much of a factor. Like if we was
Yeah.
something serious, I'd have been like, okay, I understand why you might be selected for the name, because it might be a chance me and this person might run into each other, and there might be a relationship you had established that you don't want to end. Like,
I'll take it back. One instance in which names would be important. One instance is if there was a sexual history that involved someone that I was dealing with and somebody that was like my family.
uh,
That's when I would want to know names
yeah,
because this is a part of me that still would need to heal because once again, once I'm established with somebody in the sense of a relationship, nothing else outside of that circle matters. You know what I mean? Anything outside of that circle is all just pride and trying to like, figure out things for yourself so that you can feel good and shit. which don't really add to the relationship. It just adds to the person. But this is something that I still need to heal from. If it's family, if it's somebody I know, somebody I rock with, like one of my brothers, you know what I'm saying? And there was a situation that before us, like let me know. I ain't gonna trip about it, but let me
But
know.
yeah, do give me the
I don't
heads up.
wanna,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't wanna feel that at any given time, if my man's around, y'all have whatever. Not to say that y'all gonna jump into it like, oh, nah, but there's gonna be an unspoken awkwardness or some type of unspoken understanding between y'all two that I'm on the outside. I'm third wheeling about. You know what I mean? Now I'm gonna feel stupid. And I don't want to feel stupid. The last thing that anybody would want to feel in any relationship is stupid about being in a relationship in any aspect or in any respect to it. You know what I mean?
That's how those feelings of resentment start to develop, in relationships. Because you start getting suspicious, you start getting resentful, start looking around like, well, what the fuck are y'all doing? Start putting you on guard, like, and they start changing the dynamics of your relationship. And it'd be one of the smallest things that do like the biggest unraveling of all the relationship. Cause it'd be like that small little thing. Be like, I could have just had that simple conversation, and it would have quashed so many issues that we would have had in the future. About me just having that open conversation. Cause it start to lead to like, all right, well, why didn't you have that? Why didn't you tell me? Like, are y'all still doing something? And it just start opening up that Pandora's box unnecessarily. Unnecessary questions, unnecessary actions, unnecessary behavior, both ends. Because you know, and well, like in your situation, like I could see how that could unfold. If had you not been told, like how that could have just unfold, like where you just been on guard, just been just a little suspicion, and it don't even got to be nothing serious. It could just be like the slightest of like things to just be like, oh, hold on, like you know, like. And I'm gonna use me for example
I'm
because
about to
like
say, you can't use my situation, man. Look. I put that out as a hypothetical. Look.
oh no, I'm gonna use it. It's like a hypothetical-ish. It's hypothetical-ish because it's like true. It's a true story, but like I'm gonna play a little bit. I'm gonna play a little bit up on it, like because I've been wiser from the situation to understand like the full complexity of what happened, and like my role up in it. So like for me, I did have like a kind of sort of similar situation where like I was entertaining this woman, you know. We already established like we were going to have this romantic relationship. Things is going good. Things is going great. Now I have a female friend, like that I had prior to the relationship, was romantically involved with, but hadn't been for quite some time prior to, even establishing a relationship. So like we're completely on platonic terms. Me being all right, because I can't really describe it without getting the full details. I'm just going to avoid giving their names.
That's cool.
So take you back. This is a story from actually 2 years ago, and I'm actually telling you this, Jeide, because I get to the question. I get to that later on. But all right, so I'm gonna say friend B and then friend C.
Mm-hmm.
Friend B, I entertained with. We had a nice little vibe. Nothing serious. We didn't fuck. We didn't do nothing. But we did go out on a number of dates. Had a nice feel for each other. Did even a few kisses. Nothing crazy. Probably went to first base, I guess you would say. But now, a couple years later, I meet friend C. Unbeknownst to me, into the first date, friend B and friend C are actually best friends. But I didn't pick that up until midway into the date, and I was just, and it dawned on me when she was telling me a story, and then she showed me a picture of her friend, and I was able to be like, oh, in my head, I'm just like, I know that, but I know that girl, but I just didn't put it out there because like how I know her is like, through just dating situation, like we're cool, we develop a cordial kind of friend relationship after said situation, but like it was at the said situation, so that wasn't, I just didn't really I didn't feel the need to be putting it out there like, yo, I used to talk to her, especially now that I see that y'all friends. my mindset is, we were never really nothing serious. It was just a good time at a time, Nothing to really talk about, nothing to really even divulge, Nah, that wasn't the case, and that was me being entitled, feeling entitled, because I'm used to like if I'm not fucking you, it's really nothing to tell. It's really nothing to share, Like the feeling, the emotional side of things, that's just the emotional side of things. People have emotional. That's not really too much of a story to share or something I would share. And it's been something that's kind of been pre-established in all my old relationship. So it's something I've grown entitled to, So I've kind of picked that trait up and moved it, along as I've continued dating. Now with this girl, friend C, like when it was revealed to her, through friend B, because they had a conversation, this is how she figured out the information. So a part of me know now it wasn't necessarily the information, but it was also how she received the information. Things hit her a different way, because for friend C, me and her did start to do a little bit more than me and friend B did, And we was developing a nice little pace, and we was feeling each other pretty good, where, like she found out the information that I used to mess with her friend, And now for her, it bothered her tremendously. Now for me, it was just like, well, we didn't do X, Y, Z. You shouldn't be mad about A, B, C, like. But for her, it was like, no, that's my friend, regardless of what you had, like that's a betrayal of me. Now I could have looked at that as her feeling entitled to, like she used to guys being, oh baby, baby, please, trying to make situations work, or like just guys, that just, like honestly, I say don't even have the juice to pour her and her friend, because like I will say both of them were extremely attractive, and like typically like if you're pulling one, you're probably not pulling both of them, like so I kind of felt like she was also entitled to not having like the kind of guy that she was dealing with in me. But
Mm.
either way, it created the divide, and Phyllis was had on her side and my side, about like how it could have been done. Now, as I've grown older, I've been able to look at it and be like, you know what, that situation, I was supposed to take out my ego. I was supposed to remove myself, and I was supposed to kind of put myself in her shoes in that situation and kind of look at it like, how would that feel roles reverse? Like if I was in that situation, like would I want my girl had fucking my man's, and even if she didn't fuck my man's, had an intimate moment like where emotions were shared and I wasn't privy to it, and I was able to kind of like like sympathize with it, like why I still kind of felt like, it should have been a little more lenient on my end from her, like where she kind of understood where I was coming from. I did fully understand where she was coming from, where it was just like, all right, you know what, I can't really have any gripes about how she handled the situation. Like I just kind of got to move and you know allow her to process it, and if it move on and we cultivate a Bible later on, then we do. If we don't, we don't. But kind of let that be what it is, and take our my ego out of the situation. So
You know what? I feel like we should have a part two of this conversation because there's some things that I wanted to talk about. We're wrapping up on an hour right now. My
yeah,
daughter calling me. I can already hear it. She about to start crying. But I want to get to a part two of this conversation
all right,
regarding entitlement, and we can still talk about the sex element, but entitlement on a platonic level. How does entitlement on a platonic level look
oh
like?
that's
How do
good.
you feel what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, look, Patreon, PVM. Y'all go subscribe. Y'all check us out on Patreon. Y'all check us out on YouTube. Y'all check Fly 'em Out Dash Catering. Y'all go ahead and get yourself some smoothies. Y'all go ahead and get yourself some platters. You know what I'm saying? Get yourself filled up right. Get yourself, sipped up right. You know what I mean? It's about to be warm, cold out here. Get yourself
Yeah.
something warm. You know what I'm saying? Yo, look, we got some things coming up. Part two of this conversation is going to be coming up next Sunday. Thank y'all all for joining us, for being a part of this. I got to go. My daughter going to kick my ass if I don't. Dash, I love you. All y'all, we love y'all. I'm out.